Hello, Coloritaville. I got a couple of really interesting pens and markers in, and I wanted to take a look at them with you. They say they are erasable. This one here is called Friction Colors, and it is done by Pilot. I pulled them out of the package. It comes in just a flimsy little package. There's 12 colors, so there's a good selection of colors. From your yellows to your orange and pink and red, and, the basic colors. And then I also have this set from Van Steck, and they're a gel pen. And there's packaging is much nicer and a lot easier to contain in the package. So I'm going to leave those in the package for now. And on the ends of each of these pens is this little tip, and it's a little rubbery, not soft, hard rubber type of tip. And they say that rubbing that tip on your colored area will erase it. So what we're going to do, and basically the basic thing that they're saying is the heat from the friction of rubbing against it with these tips is going to erase the color. However, if you get your pens too hot, the ink inside of the pen will become invisible, and you actually have to put them in the freezer or in a very cold place for a few seconds to bring that ink back to color. So I was wondering, if I was to color with this, erase it, and then put it back and put it in the freezer, will all that ink come back up, or will it stay erased? Because sometimes it gets cold, especially if you're in the winter or you're out camping or something and it gets chilly overnight. You may not have the temperature required to keep the ink from being erased. And if you color over it, like if you make a mistake and you color over it, is that ink going to come back up once it cools off? Like once the temperature goes down, is that ink going to come back up? So those are the questions that we're going to take a look at today. And these are the two different types of pens. I've got gel pens here, which, like I said, are done by Van Steck. And they have the same premise. They've got a little rubbery nib here. These ones actually are kind of cool because they're clickable. So you don't have to worry about where's the cap or anything like that. It does have a little wax nib on the end to protect the pen when you get them. But that is the whole premise of this, is just basically going to take a look at these and see what they'll do. Now, you do have to let the ink dry before trying to erase it. Otherwise, you might end up with just a mess on your paper. Now, these are, I do believe, a water-based paint ink because of the way that it's laying down. It does not say on the packaging. I don't think. I'll have to take a look. But by the way that it's coloring, it feels like it's a water base. And it's got a good little nib. Definitely not a large area nib, but it does have a nice wide tip, small nib. And the color does come out quite easily. It's not choppy or anything like that. But this is just the marker, so we're going to color this one in the markers and maybe make a couple of mistakes and see if we can erase them all. All right, so that's the brown. And I think we're going to use a bit of, I'm going to try using a lot of the darker colors because, with pencil, it's the darker colors that are harder to erase. So we will see if these darker colors will erase easier than the lighter colors or vice versa, and if the lighter colors erase easier. And then we'll stick it in the freezer just for a couple of seconds and see if all that color comes back up. Also, we're going to take a look and see if there's any shadowing. So what I mean by shadowing is if when you erase it, if you're going to still see colors on the page, but just really, really lightly. Okay, so this is going to be a funky looking owl because I'm going to try to use all 12 of these colors on him. My instinct is to make him pretty, but I want to use as many of the colors as possible on him, so. And once we get all 12 colors down, we'll let it dry and we'll move on to the gel pens and do a different one with the gel pens. And then we'll come back and we'll erase this one. And hopefully it will erase. Because with markers especially, I have, a fear of it not looking right or making a mistake. Gel pen, I've figured out a few ways of taking those mistakes down a little bit. But of course, you never get it all the way down, right? All right. Okay. I'm going to switch you over to the other camera here and maybe you get a better look of what that owl's doing. There we go. So as you can see, if you can do a light and a dark variance on the colors just by going over it. I did that with the green, the light green there. I'm trying not to make mistakes, and that's the whole premise of this is to make mistakes, isn't it? That's the whole idea of doing this experiment, was to make the mistakes. Here I am trying to avoid them. That's the colorist in me, I guess. I want it always to look so pretty. All right. And the colors seem to be quite nice. The red's a little bit light for my liking, but so far I've used almost every color. I've just got, and by the time I'm done this rainbow here, I probably will use every color. All right, the lids are tight on these, so they do take a little bit of pull to get them off, which is a good thing. That means that if they leak, they're not going to leak all over your stuff. And I am doing this very messy. I'm really trying hard not to be neat and tidy. It's bad when you have to try not to be neat and tidy. Okay. Now we're getting into the lighter colors here, so I'm going to make sure that we have a whole area that is a lighter color so that when we do erase it, we can definitely see if it does better on the dark or light. It's a nice yellow though. And now there is two different pinks in here. There's this lighter pink and then the brighter pink that I used on the rainbow, which is kind of cool because most sets will, small sets like this will only come with one tone of pink. All right, now we're going to use orange. This is one psychedelic owl. And I saw these and I thought, well, I understand the concept of it, but is it actually going to work? You know, I'd like to know what they put in the ink that makes it work, if it does work. Now, I was going to look on here. It does not state whether it is a water base or they don't smell, so I don't think they're an alcohol base. I'm pretty sure they're just a water-based pen. But I wanted to check that before I forgot. And I'm going to leave these little dots white. And that way we can see the difference between different areas. So if the rest of this where the blue is comes out a gray color, then we know that it's left some behind and there's a shadow. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend or is having a wonderful weekend. I'm going to publish this tonight, so if I actually don't mess it up, because you know how videos go. Sometimes you're just going along and then the next thing you know, the dog's barking her head off, or the husband is asking questions, or the kids are suddenly wanting your attention. And then I have to redo the video. So far, so good this morning. All right, so let's do, what color should I do as wings? I think, yeah, I think we'll do them this light green, same as his eye, around his eyes. Like I said, I really want to see how much difference and how quickly it is to erase a light versus a dark. And if the light comes off easier than the dark does. And I have played with them a little bit, but I made the horrifying mistake of trying to erase it when it was wet. And I just tore a hole in my paper. So don't do that. Wait until it's dry. So if you do make a mistake, don't try to erase it until it's all dry. And see, I just made a mistake there, so I colored his little legs green. Though, when you're coloring like this, there really is no mistakes. I was going to do his little legs yellow, but his toes get to be yellow instead. Alrighty. So there's our psychedelic, every color in the box owl. And that is quite literally every single color, a couple of them twice, right out of the box. So we're going to put these ones aside and let that dry. So then we're going to color this one down here, and we're going to use gel pen. Like I said, the gel pens are clickable. You don't need a cover, just up and down. Just up and down, which is cool. Make sure that I've taken the bit off. And they go on very smooth. And sometimes that little bit that they stick on the end of the pen can be a little bit hard to take off. It feels like it's just a bit of wax that they've dipped it in, but it could be plastic. I don't know why that's showing red. It's pink. Ay, these cameras sometimes, I'm telling you. All right, so this is a deep, deep pink. I don't think we're going to get all 15 colors on here, but you never know. And there are more colors in the gel pens than in the markers, so. And like I said, it does come out quite smooth. Now I am doing this quite quickly, so I am not worrying about lay down lines or anything like that. I'm just trying to fill in the area. I hope everybody has all their stuff ready for the season. I know it's going to be Halloween soon. We're not actually going to do anything with Halloween this year because of COVID, so. And that is also looking very red, and it is not red. It is a burgundy, not burgundy, magenta pink. So I'm going to adjust that because it is not giving you a true color at all. So just give me a second here. Don't know why it does that. Sometimes the camera just decides on its own that it's going to show you colors that aren't true. See, that's better. Okay. That's actually the color of it. And of course, I don't look at the camera a lot when I'm coloring, so sometimes I don't notice it. Which, I should really look at the camera more when I'm coloring. So we've got some darker colors on here, and see the little nib cover there? So you have to peel that off and make sure that you get all of it off. Otherwise it gums up your pen. And then suddenly the pen don't work. Now they do say if the pen doesn't work right away to use a scratch pad and just give it a bit of a shake and scribble with it. Just like you do any other gel pen, I guess. Okay, let's use some lighter colors here. So this is the yellow. And none of them are sparkly, they're just regular colors, which kind of bummed me out a little bit. I like sparkles. I prefer sparkly gel pens. But for those of us that just straight color with gel pens and don't want sparkle, these are quite a nice gel pen. Even if they don't work for erasing, they lay down quite nicely. You get a lot of ink down quite quickly. And once again, I'm really trying hard not to make mistakes. And, that's the premise of this whole thing, is to see if we can erase mistakes. It's just the colorist in me, I guess. Want everything to be perfect. Colorist, perfectionist, whichever one you want to say. And see, and now the yellow looks an orange. That's just weird. Well, it is an orangey color, but it's not that orange. I wonder why it keeps doing that. And see, that's more like what the color of the yellow is. Maybe it's... No. I don't know why it is doing that. There, that's a little better. Driving me crazy. Well, I think that's as close as we're going to get. Without sitting here all day fiddling with it. I will have to fiddle with it some more later because that's driving me crazy. There, I think that's about as close as we're going to get on that. Sorry about that, guys, because that really annoys me. I don't know why the camera does that. Just going to put down some medium colors and light colors. And like I said, we'll go back and erase the first owl and see how that does. When I was playing with these last night, I was making dinner at the time. And I had the oven on really, really hot. And I took the page that I was working on and I actually stuck it in the oven for just a couple of seconds. And all the ink disappeared. So I know that the heat works on taking the color away. But as soon as I took it out of the oven and put it back on my desk and went back to what I was doing in the kitchen, I came back and most of the ink had come back up. So I don't know how long it disappears for, and if it will come back when you color over it, which is not something that we want to happen, right? Like I said, I'm just doing as many of the colors as I can. There isn't a whole lot of really light colors in this set. They're quite dark in the saturation, the deepness of the color. So there's no pastel colors here, that's for sure. But that's the way it is with most gel pens, right? Most gel pens are pretty bright in their color pigmentation. So here I am trying not to make a mess again. Let's try this blue and see if it's light. There is like 4 blues in this set. Do the center here. It's a nice blue. I like the fact that you can just click them on, click them off. Oh, that one. Now this is the red. See, and I didn't get all of it off. There it goes. Make sure you get all that tip off, otherwise you can't color with it very well. I like the fact that I don't have to look for the lid or hold the lid, because that's what I end up doing. I end up holding the lid until I'm done. I like the fact that I don't have to do that. There's also 2 purples in here. So there's 4 blues, 2 purples, 2 greens, and a black, yellow, red, 2 different pinks. Let's do the black. Let's do his feet. Oh, I guess that helps if you take that off. Do his feet black. And so far I have not had any problems with the ink not coming down immediately. So that's good. And we have enough little spaces on here, I think, to use every single one of these pens, which is kind of cool because I didn't think we were going to. You know what? I'm just going to cover the whole thing. Trying to be neat and tidy around those little tiny hearts. It's like, no, we'll just do this. Like I said, I don't know why I'm trying to be neat and tidy. We're just going to erase it. And this is a darker purple, I think. Maybe it's a lighter purple. We'll see. Oh, looks like a darker purple. Or a redder purple, I should say. It's not really dark, it's just red. More red. Now we got 2 more to go. And then we've used all of them. Now these look pretty close to the same color. This is a very dark blue. Very, very dark blue. So we're just going to fill that all in, and then we'll use this other blue around the eyes. And this is a pretty dark blue too, but it's not as dark. It's more bright. So I think this would probably be a true blue or a bright blue in your color chart areas. Now I haven't swatched these or anything because I didn't really think there was a need to. And this part I'm just going to do really, really quick and messy, so because there are very, very tiny little areas, and I find that with pens it's really hard to get into really tight areas. Okay, so we have used every color on that. Now we're going to go back to our other one here, and we're going to use one of the friction pens. Now I'm going to try not to, and we're just going to rub it off. Well, that is cool. Look at that. It just comes right on off. Now you go over it a couple of times. Okay. So it just seems to have rubbed it over there. So let's see what kind of a mess we can make here, right? Okay, so it does seem to be taking it off, but it does seem to be leaving a shadow as well. I've got a couple of those little pin things underneath there. Drive me crazy. Now you do have to rub quite hard to get that friction enough that it's going to take that off. Let's see if I put more friction on there, how well it comes off. Now you're not going to want to do this to your coloring, but if you want to take it all off, it seems you have to use quite a bit of friction. Hoi. And for little tiny mistakes, I can see this being something that would be really cool to use to erase an entire picture like I just did. Probably not what they meant by it's erasable. Okay, let's use a clean one and see if that makes a difference. Because it just seems to be smearing around it a little bit. Okay, so it has taken quite a bit of it down. It does seem to be leaving quite a bit of shadow, so I can actually still see what colors were there. Let's see if I can bring that up there. So as you can see, there's still a bit of shadow. There's still little bits of the color still there. So you can bring it down and go over it, and as I was saying, like right here and up here, it just seemed to have smeared it around and off onto the page itself, which is, like I said, if you're going to use it on small areas, say you've drawn a line, let's see, say you were coloring there and you end up going over here. Oh, let's let that dry. Let's Okay, so it doesn't seem to be coming off with my breath, but if you do a little line like that, it comes right off. It leaves a bit of a shadow, which isn't all that great. Now, we've given this enough time to dry down here, so let's try this. And it seems to be coming off quite well. It does leave a shadow as well. And I don't know if it's just the fact that the way I'm using the pen, like if I'm not putting enough pressure on it to put enough friction on it, or what. I did actually experiment a little bit with an actual eraser as well after I'd gone over it with the pen and brought it down to almost all gone. And it doesn't seem to be sticking to the pen, so that's kind of cool. Now, and like I said, it takes it down quite a bit. Like you can see where it's made it disappear. And the darker colors seem to come down a lot easier than the lighter colors, which is a little bit weird. Maybe it's just because you see more of a difference there. Now, if you have problems with your hands like I do, doing this with these pens can be a bit of an issue. So like I said, I experimented last night. This is a Prisma eraser. I just got eraser bits all over everything. And this is a lot easier to control than, and that seems to have brought it back up. Weird. I think my eraser's cold. That's very strange. Now, let's see. I think my eraser's too cold right now because we took it all back down. So let's use a new one so that that the tip is a little bit harder. All right. So once again, you can see the shadow of the colors quite a bit on there. So neither one of them did perfectly. I'm going to stick this in the freezer. I'll be right back. This will just take a couple of seconds, and I will show you what happens when it gets cold. So I'll be right back. Just 1 minute. Okay, guys, thanks so much. This is actually really interesting. I put this in the freezer for a few seconds, and the color on the gel pens came back up quite a bit, but on the markers did not. So I think with the markers, you may be able to actually color over that again. And if it does get cold, it's not going to show through so much. But with the gel pens, you're going to end up getting a bit of show from the previous coloring if it gets cold. So that's kind of cool. Now, I don't know if I heated up this pen quite a bit, this marker, and made the ink go invisible, by looking at this, if I put it in the freezer for the 10 seconds they call for, would the color come back? Now, I don't know how to heat this pen up to do that, because you have to heat it up to, I think it's 100 degrees or 80 degrees. Anything over 140 degrees will make it disappear. If the marker is exposed to a temperature that reaches 140 degrees Fahrenheit, the ink will become colorless, and then you put it in the freezer, and the ink will regain its color. So I don't really want to stick my pen in my oven or anywhere in my house that reaches 140 degrees to make it invisible. So we're not going to try that. But another thing I wanted to show you is if you do see the color coming back up, you can make it disappear again. Just by going over it with the pen and giving it that bit of friction, that makes it go away. So here are my thoughts on this. The gel pens, the gel itself is really nice. Yes, you can erase small bits and problems. Personally, I wouldn't color an entire picture and erase it and then color over it, because that pen is going to show through if the temperature drops or, that sort of thing. It does leave a bit of a mess when you erase it. Sometimes with some colors. Some colors just erase really nicely, like that. But some colors just smudge. They just smear and make a bit of a mess. So, would I buy them again? Because I did purchase these. I don't think I would. The novelty of it is really cool. Yeah, I would use them for my colorings and whatnot. Just for the fact that if I do make a little mistake, I can eliminate it. If I just do that or accidentally, hit my pen somewhere I don't want it to be, it erases pretty easily, pretty quickly. But to do this, of course, this isn't something you would normally do with them, and I don't think it's something that they expected you to do with them. However, if you do, say, write a special little note to somebody, or you can sit there and do this, get it all the way gone, and give them the note, and it doesn't look like anything is there. And just tell them, leave instructions for them that they need to put it in the freezer or, take it outside in the snow. That could be fun. And that sort of thing. Personally, I don't color a lot with gel pens. I don't color a lot with markers. I don't usually use water-based markers at all. Just because I don't like the streaking that I get with them. But for small details and for highlights and whatnot, these could be a lot of fun. Now, this is on coloring book paper. So it's not a heavy cardstock. It's maybe a 40-pound paper. So it is a little bit heavier than, say, this level of coloring book paper. I don't know if the thinner stuff would make a difference. I did use this cardstock, which is my 65-pound. And I colored here, and like I said, I made a boo-boo and tried to erase when it was still wet and actually tore the paper. But as you can see here, the color came off a lot. It disappeared. So I think it also depends upon how much ink you put down, the heaviness of your paper, the tooth of your paper, and how warm it is in your house. So this morning it is quite cool here. So my house is quite cool because I don't have the heat on right now. So these tips may not be getting hot enough to eliminate that color. And like I said last night, I did when I was playing with these. Let's see, I can make it disappear with just my fingertip because it's hotter than the pen. But I was playing with these last night when it was warm in here because I was cooking dinner, and I was able to make them erase a lot better. And like I said, this paper is not a heavy cardstock. It is a maybe a 30 or 40 weight paper. This, however, is a 65-pound cardstock. So this took it right down. you can almost barely see that it was even used there. Where this, even after putting it in the freezer and going over it again and again and again, you can still see the color. And my eraser hasn't warmed up. But so personally, absolutely cute, really, really cool concept. Fantastic concept. Would have been better if it actually worked on this lower cardstock. And it does work to an extent. Of course, you know, I colored a large area and then tried to erase a large area. For little boo-boos, absolutely, it works great. Coloring large areas and trying to erase large areas doesn't work as well as you would hope. Putting it in the freezer to bring it back to life also seems to work. So it does come back, that coloring, that does come back after you've colored it if it gets cold. So if say you're camping and you colored something and didn't like it, or made a boo-boo and erased it, as soon as it gets cold out or your page gets cold, that color is going to show back up. So with that, my recommendation is really kind of a cool concept. Definitely works in warmer temperatures. So if your house is over, say, 70 degrees, like right now, it's only about 65 in here. It works a lot better than if it's cooler in your house. So if you enjoy your room temperature to be on the cold side, it may not erase as easily as if you enjoy your house room temperature to be 75 and above. You know, who enjoys having their room temperature 75 and above? I don't know. Not me. My husband. That's who. But if you enjoy having it really warm, they work wonderfully on erasing. However, if it's too warm, you may not end up being able to color with them. So for small details, for little boo-boos, fantastic. Don't try to erase an entire picture because it's not going to work so well. If you are going to erase something and then color over it, let me know if that shows through. Let's see. So we're going to just color over this area here with the yellow, because this was a hot pink. So I'll color over this hot pink area with this yellow and see what it does. Now, just to make sure that this, you know, goes a little quicker is why I'm putting it in the freezer. Sometimes just having the air conditioner blowing on it might even bring that color up. Now, as you can see, it did turn a little bit orange. So let's see what happens when we put it in the freezer. I will be right back. So I'm going to give you a 30-second countdown and we'll try to get this back to you before it ends, unlike last time. So just one quick 30-second countdown. I'll be right back. Okay, I actually almost made it this time. So I put it back in the freezer. As you can see, all the other colors have come up quite a bit. And that hot pink underneath the yellow has also come up quite a bit. So it's turned it quite orange. So if you want a closer look at that. So, and all of those little bits and mistakes that we made and erased have come up quite a bit as well. So the more you rub on it, like here on the orange, I rubbed quite a bit. The more you rub on it, the more it seems to erase. But going over it with another color, if it gets too cold, might bring back that underlaying color and change the color of what you've colored over top of it. In my opinion, cool idea. I don't think it'll work well for coloring because of the fact that just having your air conditioner on might cause it to bring that color back. But for those little tiny boo-boos, I think it'll work great as long as you keep your room temperature at a proper room temperature. It should work fine. If it gets too cold, you're going to end up with all your color back. With that, I want to say thank you so much for watching. Personally, I would not recommend these for coloring. For kids to play with and really cool art ideas, they are really cool, and they do work. They do erase. So, for example, you know, even after coming back up, you can make them go away. You can make that color go back to being erased. So writing cute little messages and maybe, you know, having scavenger hunts and whatnot with secret messages, they might work really well for that. For kids to play with, they'll work really well for that. For coloring as an artist, as an adult colorist, I personally don't think I would use them as coloring an entire page with them, just because I don't want to make a mistake and go back over something, erase it, go back over something with a different color and have it show up back through like that. So my recommendation, yeah, I give it a bit of a thumbs down. Well, a thumbs down for colorists, a thumbs up for kids. Definitely really cool for kids. I think that they would have a lot of fun with those, especially at school and in writing their notes and whatnot. As a colorist, I personally wouldn't use them for coloring. Not for coloring large areas anyway. Of course, if you want to join me over on our Facebook group, we do have a Coloritaville Facebook group, and that, of course, is the Cozy Coloring Corner at Coloritaville. If you want to join us there, fill out the application form, and we will get you in as quickly as possible. Of course, like, comment, and subscribe to any of our videos. That will make sure, of course, if you ring the bell, that will make sure that you get notification of when we go live, when we put up a new video, and that sort of thing. But as for an erasable gel pen and a erasable marker, I would not recommend them as a colorist. Really cool idea, great concept, and for small little areas and small little boo-boos, fantastic. But for coloring large areas and then trying to recolor over a boo-boo, I don't think it would work. That's my opinion. This is completely my opinion. I have not been asked to do this video by anyone. I purchased both of these products myself. With that being said, have a great day, everybody. A wonderful week, and thank you so much for watching. All right, bye-bye for now.